Hi. At the start of July 2024, we headed for Crieff, where one of our regulars, Mike Adair, had planned a route for a group ride around Comrie. We started off with 13 enthusiastic participants, a few of which were new faces, on a dry but overcast day.
Our host for the day, close up and personal, Michael Adair.
A bit too close.
Or Mike, it's Sunday, so it should be Michael.
Exactly. My mum will be happy.
Should be Michael. Quite a decent turnout.
So we're going to ride across the front of the Loch, curve round to the left, cut back across, contour around all the hills, eventually get to the view there at the valley, which is the dam at Loch Turret.
Brilliant.
Past Loch Turret and across to Comrie Croft.
Excellent. For lunch?
Exactly.
Superb, good planning.
It'll be well earned.
Well, we'll be ready for it, I think. Nice one.
We left the Aldi car park and set off to the north through a couple of little wooded sections and housing estates before heading towards the hills. We soon cycled into the grounds of the Loch Turret distillery, which Mike explained to us has a couple of claims to fame. Not only is it Scotland's oldest working distillery, dating from 1775, it also boasts a 2 Michelin star restaurant and had a distillery cat named Towser, which is in the Guinness Book of Records for catching the most mice ever, at a staggering 28,899 mice. Good work, Towser. We set off at the first climb of the day, and it was quite a rocky affair which took a bit of negotiating. The payoff for our efforts were some lovely views at the top. Andy had set himself up for another day of self-flagellation on his Steelers reel fixie. Honestly don't know how he does it. After another wee tarmac climb, we had a nice little descent that dropped us through the golf course. This popped us back down at the road, and it was at that point we realised that we were a rider down, with Morris nowhere to be seen. I knew that he'd downloaded the route to his bike computer, so we hoped that he might catch up with us at Comrie. If you're enjoying this video, don't just hit the like button, apparently you have to smash it, and while you're at it, please consider subscribing to the channel. It would be most appreciated, and if you hit the notifications button, you'll be advised when I make a new video. If you fancy having a go at some of these routes, why not join us for a group ride, or you can download the GPX files by following me on Strava at Douglas Gilligan, RACC, or on Commute at SpecialisedDoug. Better still, if you fancy leading us on a group ride around your favourite gravel route, drop a comment in the comments section and I'll get back to you. We were soon into our next climb of the day, so I set off and tried to capture some footage of the terrain on the drone. This ride can really be split up into thirds. In the first 7 miles you do most of the climbing. For the next third you're basically skirting around the hills that you've climbed, and then the last third is pretty flat back to your starting point.
Well, we're heading across the Comrie. It says that we got up here around the back of these hills, which I think this is what we're heading for, and then we'll drop into Comrie.
We were pretty lucky with the weather on the day. The first time I put the drone up there were a few wee spits of rain, but it didn't come to anything. Later on we had one small shower to deal with and took shelter under some trees, but I think some of the group did get caught in it. We had a few tyre pressure issues in the day, with Carl and Brendan suffering way more than their fair share. This could be due to the surfaces. There were quite a few rough and rocky sections with one or two really challenging steep bumpy climbs. Although it's a relatively short route, the climbing is quite significant, and you certainly know that you've been for a pedal by the time you've finished. It's nice to see Stu back out with us again. He's been off the bike for a few weeks with a wee stomach issue, which thankfully seems to have resolved itself. Long may it continue. Some of the views as we traversed the hillside were really pretty, and you get a chance to appreciate them as you're slowly descending as well. At this point I get chatting to Fiona, who does a bit of organising group cycling events herself. She was saying how nice it was just to turn up and follow someone else for a change, although to be honest I think she quite enjoys working routes out from what she was saying. After skirting the hilltops for a while, we dropped slightly and arrived at the Loch Turret reservoir. The distillery actually has its own dedicated supply pipeline from the reservoir to help ensure the purity and quality of the water which goes into making their whisky. Leaving the reservoir to the south led us into a long straight climb. As always, my trusty kinesis handled the conditions admirably, but there were a few wee sections in this route where I thought that Neil's mountain bike might have been the perfect machine for the job. Off to the side here, Brendan was having a bit of an issue with what appeared to be a slow TPI, but Mike was with him, so we decided to crest the climb before waiting for them. There was a cracking reveal when you finally crested, with the countryside just opening up before you. This is the road we'd just cycled, heading back over towards the reservoir. I sent a drone back to look for others, but they were still working on Brendan's bike. We stopped to take in some of the views and to wait for the rest of the group, but Mike then called and advised that they were having a few issues with it, and they said they'd catch us up at the croft. We'd pretty much topped out altitude wise by then, and it was time to enjoy the fruits of our labour whilst losing some of it. Ultimately we didn't meet up with Morris, but we eventually found out that he did manage to make his way back to our start point. Unfortunately, some of the guys were really unlucky with tyre pressure issues on the day. I've been running tubeless tyres on both my gravel and my road bikes for a couple of years now, and I'd hate to join them myself, but I've found them to be very reliable. The change in surface here from the rough stuff to the sand nearly caught a couple of us out as the bikes get quite snaky. We then had yet another TPI as we started descending towards Crieff for lunch. The drop down to the Crieff started off with a quite chunky descent before we popped into the woods and skirted above the very impressive Lawers estate building. This week lunch was towards the end of our ride, coming after about 20 miles. We stopped into the Crieff mountain biking centre where they have a great choice of food and it was really tasty. We then had another chair issue after the collapsing bench situation in Grand Tully a couple of weeks ago. We must stop breaking furniture.
And we all sat on the bench and the bench collapsed.
Oh, yes. No.
Oh no! I did get it!
Did you film that? Did you film that?
Brilliant.
As we left the Crieff, we had a brief spell on the road before cutting off left through a field and onto an embankment, which had its fair share of stinging nettles. I'm still not a fan of these, and a few of them gave me good reason to perpetuate my dislike.
We should have sent Mike up front with like a plough on the front of his bike to get rid of the jaggies. Do you know what? It's actually making me feel better, Craig, that you're reacting so badly to them.
We then set off in the last leg, and although we'd lost Morris, we gained Helen at the Crieff, so, ignoring semantics, we factually started and finished with the same number of participants.
Michael, sounds fantastic. Good route, enjoyed that, bit of everything.
Well done. Great. Cool. Really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Well done, everybody. Bravo. Cheers. Well done, Andy, boy.
See you on the next one.
See?
Thanks for having
Nice
me.
to meet you. Very welcome anytime. Jambo. I can do.
I've got fuel coming down.
I do it.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed that. It was a good
And
ride.
yourself.
To ride by the numbers, we covered 25 quite technical miles with 2,500 feet of climbing, and a combined total of what must have been greater than 10 tyre pressure issues.